All
right, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 5:30. As you know, we always like to get started right on time. There are a few people that will be coming in, so let's not give them frown looks. Let's just let them find their seats. And thank you all for being early and on time. My name is Jody Donovan, and this is Joseph Financial Partners Investment Supper. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So we've done this presentation before, but it's always nice to refresh and remind you that there are still identity theft and scammers out there taking a lot of money from people out there. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, what is identity theft? What's the definition? What does it mean? We're going to talk about warning signs of identity theft as well, what you can do to prevent it, and then if something terrible happens, how to report it. So that's our agenda for tonight. So we're going to start with a few definitions. Identity theft. It's a noun. The definition is the fraudulent acquisition and use of a person's private identifying information, usually for financial gain. Meaning they're getting your identity, whether that be your social security and date of birth, and getting a fake ID, and being you doing something else, whether that's getting a credit card, a loan, being a criminal, getting health care. We're going to go through all those. But that's taking your identity and doing something with your identity. And this is the most important, or the scariest form of fraud is identity theft, because it's not just taking your credit card or opening a loan. There's a lot more damaging things that can happen with identity theft as opposed to fraud. So it's fraud. It's also a noun, but it's the wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. And the two kind of mash together, and I'm going to try and keep them separate, but basically people take identity theft and commit fraud, or there is fraud committed by doing identity theft. And so it's kind of mashed together, but fraud is broken up into different categories, and we're going to talk about those tonight. The Federal Trade Commission, which is a governmental entity, they put out a report every year. It's called the Consumer Sentinel Network. And it lists all the reports that the Federal Trade Commission gets, complaints, identity theft, fraud, all the different complaints that they get, and they compile it in this report. And so for 2021, the top reports were fraud. This is just 2021, 2.8 million reports of fraud, 1.4 million reports of identity theft, and then 1.5 of others. And I'm not going to go into others. I'll show you briefly what there are, but there's a long list of different types of identity theft, different types of fraud. And so we're going to go into those. So part of the Sentinel Network is slides and data. And I thought I'd pick this one. I didn't want to go through all the data because there's so much there, but this one was really unique. This shows from 2018 to present, not all, the most used identity theft and fraud cases that are reported. And the orange line that you see usually above the top is credit card fraud. That's the one that's always been at the top of the list. However, you see this big elephant in the room right here that jumps up from 2020 and then drops back down to in present. That one is government and benefits fraud, meaning people stealing benefits checks. Remember in 2020 we had this thing called COVID, and there was a bunch of stimulus checks that were just being thrown out, a bunch of unemployment checks just given out. Well, a lot of those got stolen because there were so many out there that so many got reported, hey, I didn't get my stimulus check, or hey, my unemployment check never arrived, because there were so many being done. And so this was an increase from 2019 to 2020 of 2,900% change in that, just the government documents and benefits fraud. And that doesn't mean just the benefits fraud. The government documents, there's people taking your identity and getting a passport and selling it to someone, or using it to move around the states and in and out of the country. So it's not just the benefits, but also the government documents. I just wanted to include that because I thought that was pretty shocking that it could go up that much in just 2 years, over 2,000%. But there was a lot of benefits checks that were lost or stolen. So here's the list that I was talking about. This is basically the top 10 fraud categories that report listed, meaning these are the top 10 reports that were given on fraud. And the top one, and I'm going to go through all of these, all 10 of these, and all 7 of the identity theft categories. You can see there's identity theft, and then there's fraud, and then there's those others I mentioned about. Those are in your handout. I'm not going to cover those tonight. But these are just the top reports from the Federal Trade Commission that I'm going to go through to remind you that they're still out there. A lot of these you may have heard about, but they're still happening today and in higher dollar amounts. So again, this is the top 10 types of fraud. And I'm going to go through all of these. That's just the list that we just looked at. So the first one, imposter scam. This is that one that's at the top of the list. What is an imposter? Someone that impersonates someone you know or fear or don't know, but they play on your emotions to get you to send them money. A lot of times it's in the form of a gift card or a wire transfer. But these are the imposters that can be anywhere from the IRS saying, hey, we're taking you to jail, the sheriff's department, the appraisal district, your grandson Bill that got arrested in Mexico. Grandma, this is Uncle. Help, I need money. And people are sending them money because they're believing them. That's an imposter. So what are some warning signs? Someone asks you to send a gift card or a wire. That's usually a pretty big red flag. No one takes payments in gift card except scammers and criminals. Someone starts scaring you or playing on your emotions, your fear, the temptations that you have of not leaving your grandson in jail in Mexico or the IRS coming after you. They know that scares people to death and they'll just send whatever amount. So be aware of the imposters that are out there. Know who you're talking to and know who's calling you. If it's the IRS that says on your caller ID, that's not the IRS. They don't call people. They only send letters. That's called spoofing. When you see the IRS on your caller ID, that's a spoof call. They made it look like the IRS. And I'll talk about another one where it's your service provider like AT&T. They can do that as well. So just be aware that there are imposters still trying to scam you and trick you into sending them money. Online shopping. Anybody do any online shopping? Yeah, we all do. But there's also people that do online selling and buying from people that they don't know who they're buying from. For instance, there's people that will be on a legitimate website selling a fake product or a fake website with a fake product that you think is just, wow, how could I get this good of a deal? Well, if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Some warning signs are it's unbelievably low price. You're shopping around, you see this link, and that's the stereo or whatever you're shopping for, and it's half price from everywhere else. That's usually a red flag. Make sure you know who you're purchasing from. If the seller is requesting immediate payment by wire transfer, that's usually they want to get it done before you realize it's a bad product or a fake product. Also, if you're selling something, I have a client that this happened to. He was selling a car online, a legitimate website, and it was an antique car, and the buyer was overseas, red flag number one. He sent him a check. He was selling it for, I can't remember, $50,000. He sent him a check for $60,000. Told him to go deposit the check, send him the extra $10,000 for the transport of the vehicle overseas. He went and did it. He got the $60,000 check deposited, sent $10,000. That $60,000 check bounced, and he had already sent the $10,000 in a wire. He lost it. He lost that money. So if they send you more than what you're selling that item for, that's usually a red flag. Don't do it. Anybody won the lottery lately? I just got an email from Prince Albert in India that I'm a millionaire. I am. Really. Does that happen to y'all? They're out there. They're still doing it. People still believe they won a prize, a sweepstakes, or a lottery somewhere, and they are either clicking on the link or answering the call or calling the number on the letter. How do I claim my prize? Giving them their social, date of birth, it's done. Identity stolen. So be aware. The warning signs, hey, you won the lottery. You're a winner. Give me some money so I can send you some money. Don't do it. Know that there are scammers out. Yes?
One quick question. How do you know? You don't have to do anything. If you just punch the right button, you're dead.
You mean on an email?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll cover that in a minute. Maybe not dead. Your computer may be dead and your identity may be stolen, but yeah, yes. If you click on a link that I'm going to talk about in a minute, that could cause a lot more problems. But this is basically someone calling you or an email that says you're a winner, give me your information so I can send you money. That's just an easy way to get your name, social, and date of birth. Internet services and phone services fraud. This is where someone gets you to send them money, usually gift cards, or tell you their information about your mobile phone or internet service, like Frontier, Time Warner, whatever, AT&T. They pretend to be them and get you to click on a link or upgrade your service by telling you either your account number, social, date of birth, any personal information that they can get from you, they will try to do. And this is what I meant by a spoofing. They can also, your caller ID can say AT&T because they know you use AT&T and you think it's AT&T, and they say, hey, we got an upgrade for you. Can you confirm your account or your social or your date of birth? Don't do it. Hang up. Call the AT&T number that you know, that's either their website or the local branch, and call them and ask them, am I up for an upgrade or promotional, whatever, because that's an easy way to get you to agree to tell them your information. Hey, we can upgrade your phone for free. Just tell me your information. So make sure you know that those are out there. Yeah, a warning sign is a call from your service provider saying you've been an upgrade or a promotion, so just be aware of those. Business or job opportunities. Most of us in this room aren't looking for a job, but maybe your grandkids or kids are. These are scammers that are either trying to get money from you, like in the form of a gift card or a check, or getting your personal information, meaning they put a really good job out there that's, unbelievable pay, vague descriptions on the job, unprofessional emails, bad grammar, bad puncture, just to get your personal information to give you this great job. And then usually they want your social, date of birth, address, full name, and all that good stuff to get, and they've even said, hey, we need you to do this training, so you need to send us a gift card so we can send you this training module so you make sure you pass it before you get the job. You've given them money and you never get the job. So just be aware that there are business and job opportunities that are just trying to get personal information from you. This one was one of the higher dollar amounts, investment fraud related scams. Think Bernie Madoff, bad advisors, fake products from can't go wrong, no risk. Here's some of the warning signs. Well, first you need to research the firm or the advisor that you're investing with. But if it's too good to be true returns, little to no risk, a sense of urgency, and they try and play on your sense of urgency. Have you heard the acronym FOMO, F-O-M-O? It stands for fear of missing out. It's kind of like the pump and dump schemes. They want you, hey, you got to get in on this company. It's going to be great. You're going to make $1 million. And so they build this up, and it's usually a scam, a Ponzi scheme, or a fake product. So investment related fraud is still out there. I don't know if you saw in 2021, it was $1.6 trillion was lost on investment fraud just from people working with fraudulent advisors is basically what that is. This is a scary one, healthcare or medical fraud. This is where someone uses your identity to get healthcare in your name. And they usually do that by getting your Social Security, date of birth, and Medicare information or health insurance information. They go to a hospital not near you, they get treated, that information goes on your medical record, and that can cross-diagnose things. You can, my mom had a client that the nurse came in and said, I can see your mom's allergic to penicillin. She said, no, she's not. They did research and found out that someone in Alabama was getting health care in her name. So that's not even getting money, that's just getting free health care and mixing up your medical records. And that can be dangerous as opposed to financial loss. So that one's very scary. So some warning signs, unfortunately it's after the fact, if you get insurance claims or benefit statements of services that you haven't received. That's a red flag to call your healthcare provider and follow up on potential identity theft. Travel, vacation, timeshare fraud, we've heard of these a lot, but it's still happening. People just search for a beautiful resort somewhere in Belize that's half price, too good to be true again. They pay, they go there, there's no place there like that. There's just a fake spot. Or they say, hey, we can guarantee to sell your timeshare. And as we both know, most timeshares are locked in. And so there's companies that say, no, we guarantee you we can sell it. Give me your personal information, send some money, we'll take care of it. You lost the money and possibly your identity. So just be aware, those are also imposters, scammers, kind of the same word. Just be aware that of like free vacation offers, too good to be true offers like that, and guaranteed to sell a timeshare. Those aren't always guaranteed to be sold. The next one has to do with kind of like investment fraud. It's a different category at the Federal Trade Commission, but it's foreign money offers or fake bank checks. Foreign money offers meaning foreign exchange. People like to buy rubles and yens and different currency in foreign currency, in US dollars. And so some companies convince, and they're fraudsters, think Bernie Madoff again, that they can't lose in this. They're gonna get a profit. I'm gonna send you a bank check. You go deposit it, send me some more money so we can do this transaction. It's one of those schemes like that. So just be aware of high pressure sales tactics, especially from a financial advisor that's supposed to be registered. They don't do high pressure sales tactics. They advertise only online and social media. There's a lot of social media advertisement going on about investment fraud because people are believing what's on Facebook. Imagine that. And then again, sending a large check and asking you to send a portion back. That's a red flag every time. We're sending either gift cards or a large check. So now we're switching to that next category that was at the beginning, the 7 largest reports of identity theft. And what's interesting is you can see all 7 reports of identity theft have the word fraud at the end of them. What does that mean? Again, they use identity theft to commit the different types of fraud. Does that make sense? It's kind of the same thing, but identity theft is much worse than just a bank fraud or a credit card fraud. So these are the ones we're going to go through now. I mentioned this is the one that had that big spike, the government documents or benefits fraud. That means they're either taking your unemployment checks or stimulus checks or disability checks, or they're using your identity, your passport, selling it or traveling around the world and doing different things, whether it be criminal activity, but there are a lot of fake passports out there that people are using to get benefits in different forms and fashion. Unfortunately, the warning sign is after the fact. Again, if you get a court judgment or a warrant for your arrest, that's usually a good sign there's something going on. Benefits receipt that you didn't receive, like a receipt saying, hey, did you get your unemployment check? Here's your unemployment amount. You didn't get that. It was taken somewhere else or mailed somewhere else. So those are the warning signs. Usually it's too late. Credit card and bank fraud. This is the most common one. Remember that orange line that was at the beginning? It's been the top number of reports and the top dollar of fraud for decades. And that's where they use your personal information to apply for a credit line or open a new bank account. That's the most common and the easiest way for thieves to get money. Warning signs, unfamiliar accounts on your credit report. Does anyone run a credit report every year? Your credit report? Does anyone run their credit report ever? All right, okay. Should do it once a year for all these reasons I just mentioned, but we'll go through that in a second. If you have an unexpected change in your credit score, especially a drop in your credit score, that means someone borrowed some money and didn't pay it back, and that's in your name. Court judgments against you, debt collection notices, warrants, all those things are warnings that something has happened and it's not good. So what can you do? Excuse me, a credit freeze. Anybody heard of a credit freeze? I'm going to talk more about that, but this is one of the most important things I want you to take from this whole presentation is if you're never going to borrow again or you don't need to borrow any money, you should have a freeze on your credit. And I'll talk more about that. And that doesn't mean putting your credit card in the freezer, although that might help your spending problems. It won't help your credit report. The next one on the list was loan and lease fraud. This one's kind of tricky. It doesn't really involve that much identity theft, mostly fraud, and it usually involves unscrupulous professionals, lenders, appraisers, bankers, mortgage representatives that do bad things behind the scenes. Like for instance, an appraiser may be in with the buyer and appraise it for lower than its actual value to get a better price. Those types of things are happening with lenders. So there's no warning signs. It's just know who you're borrowing from or selling to when it comes to loans or leases. Employment or tax fraud. I just had a client yesterday in our office. Sharon and I had a joint conference with the mom and the daughter, and the mom didn't know that the daughter's bank account had, the bank told us, hey, your bank account's been frozen. Their ACH was rejected. And I told her, I said, did you change bank account? She goes, oh, well, no, the bank changed my account because there may have been fraud on my account. I said, oh, really? What do you mean? She goes, oh, yeah, and my CPA said I couldn't e-file because someone already filed my taxes in my name. Too late. The guy or girl has their identity, filed her tax return, opened a bank account in her name, and was already taking money out of it. So her mom was very mad at her for not telling her mom what happened, but I gave her all this information that I'm going to give y'all, and she's going to take care of it. But it was after the fact. You know, the bank account, her bank let her know, hey, we got problems. And then her CPA said, well, yep, we do too. So taxpayer fraud is when someone uses your Social Security and date of birth, your information, to file your tax return that gets sent to them, or your credit. Or they get a job with in your name, and that comes up as a job in your name with someone else's Social Security number. I mean, someone else's identity in your name. Sorry, that was confusing. Here we are, unable to e-file. That's one of the warning signs. Hey, they've already filed your taxes. Then you know you have a problem. If you get an IRS letter about activity that's not you, that's a big red flag. Or an IRS letter referencing an employer that isn't yours. Like if you get a 1099 from a company that you don't work for, that's a big red flag. So those are the taxpayer identity theft and fraud things that are happening out there. So be aware that they're out there. Phone and utilities fraud or account takeover. This is similar to what I was talking about earlier, where AT&T, your provider, calls. But this is actually where that someone uses your personal information to get your password, and then they go in on your account and change everything, so you're locked out of your account. Then they open they get a new phone, they get new utilities at their new house, all in your name on your bill. So some warning signs are notifications referring to a transaction that you didn't do, or a password change, or you're locked out of your account, your password's not working. That's a red flag that something is going on. You want to call the provider that you're trying to get into. So the next section we're in here is how to prevent identity theft. I went through not all the possible ways, the top reported ways. So now I'm going to go through a few ways to prevent those from happening. As I mentioned earlier, this is the most important slide right here in this whole presentation. These are the 3 credit bureaus that work in the United States. If you put a credit freeze on all 3 of these credit bureaus, and you can do it by their website or calling the phone number, and it's basically you're telling them, I don't want anyone borrowing in my name. That freezes your credit, meaning if someone tries to get a car loan or a credit card somewhere, anywhere in America, it will be blocked. They can't do it. It's frozen. And then if you want to borrow again, you can do what's called a credit thaw. You can say, hey, I'm going to look for a car, thaw my credit for the next month, and then put it back on at the end of that month. Or you can take it off and say, I'll put it back on later. It's very flexible, but a credit freeze is one of the only ways to prevent most of those lists from happening to you. Does that make sense? Credit freeze to prevent fraud, that's the biggest preventer. Protect your Social Security number. Y'all know this. You don't tell people, don't carry your card with you. I know a lot of people still do. Your wallet gets stolen, that's a gold mine. If they got your Social Security card, because that's like an identification in some places, if you have the actual card. But the number, anything on the with any documents you have with your Social Security number on it, shred them. They don't need to be kept. The next one, this is gone fishing. Y'all have probably heard of phishing on a line. This is with a PH. They're phishing They're just constantly throwing out a line to see who's going to click on a link that looks something familiar. This is a sample of what a PayPal email looks like from a fraudster. They copy the logo, the mottos, everything looks like an email that you may have seen before, and they want you to just click on this link to verify your account. As soon as you do that, what is it? You're dead, or your computer may be. And they get really good. You may have seen some from Amazon. Amazon has the most members in the world, so there's a lot of people that duplicate this logo and send you an email. They just throw out a bunch of lines, as many emails as they can get. They send this same generic email. And here's how you can look for signs when it comes to you. First thing I do is look, who's it from? What does that email address say after @? This one says Camazon? Or no, yeah, Mazon. It doesn't have an A, it's just Mazon.com. Also, that's usually generic personalized greeting. It won't have your name, it'll just say, "Dear client." And then here comes the scare tactic. "We sent you this email because we have strong reason to believe that your account has been used by someone else. In order to protect any fraudulent activity from occurring, we are required you to open an investigation into this matter. We've locked your Amazon account and you have only 36 hours to verify it. Otherwise, we are terminating it. By God, click on that link." Don't do it. Because if you hover over this link too, I don't know if y'all know about hovering, you take your mouse and you hover over that link, usually it'll bring up where that's actually going. And it says Amazon.com account, whatever, but if you hover over it, it says redirect Kirsigagala, some Russian name.com. So that's kind of a way to see, okay, yeah, it's not Amazon.com, it's not my name. I hover over, that's not where it's going, just delete that email. They do a lot of those. That's why they call it phishing. They just keep throwing out lines because one of y'all is going to click on it because you got scared they're going to lock out your Amazon account. Please don't lock out my Amazon. Be aware of that. Because if you do click on it, Julian, this is the death. It's called malware. There's all kinds of malware. Think of it as a bug that just got implanted into your computer. You've heard of ransomware? That's where they lock up your data until you send them money and then they release it. They do that. You hear about breaches of companies. Hey, we're going to lock up this data unless you send us $1,000 or sometimes $10,000 because it's small amounts. They can do a bunch of them, get a lot of money. So that's what malware is. And there's a bunch of different ones. There's password loggers, or key loggers is what they're called, where you don't even know you have a problem. They're just sitting there watching you key in all your passwords, writing them down, and then using them later. So don't click on any attachment or links in an email or a text. They're starting to do them in texts now. You get a text from someone you don't know, don't even open it. Especially don't click on a link in a text because they're starting to do that a lot now. Use a password manager. I've just recently downloaded this software called Dashlane. It's a password manager. It's where it creates long, difficult passwords for you, and then you don't have to type anything in. You don't have to remember anything. You don't have to look up that book that's in your desk that has all 500 passwords you've ever had. It saves all of your passwords in encrypted form to where as long as you have that software open, it automatically fills in your passwords at your bank, your financial institution. It saves them encryptedly. So you don't have to remember them and you don't have to save them, you just have that software. So I highly recommend Dashlane. Again, don't give out personal data in response to an email or a call, and then call the source where you're getting that information from. Hang up or don't reply to the email and call the institution that's sending you that email to verify all that information. Does that make sense? There's a lot of technical issues in malware because there's a lot of different viruses that they can implant, but the main thing to remember is just don't click on any link or any email that you don't know who it is or who it came from. If it's someone important, they'll get a hold of you if it's really important, but just don't get the FOMO or the fear tactics. Just click, exit out. When in doubt, exit out. Just hit the X at the top right corner. Yes? Just that word Dashlane is in there. Dashlane.com. It's a password manager, Dashlane. But if you just look up Dashlane, that's the only one out there.
Does it work for your apps on your phone?
It does. She said, does it work on your phone? Yes, you can have, it's an app on your phone that saves all your passwords. But also on most phones, there's Apple encryption. You can use your face identity to save your passwords as well. You just have to do that in the settings. The next one is looking over your shoulder. This is still a tactic from thieves trying to steal your PIN number either at the ATM, the grocery store, the gas station. That's why they have those little black covers where you can barely fit your fingers in there, so no one can look over your shoulder and see what your PIN number is. Because if they have your PIN number, that's almost as good as your Social Security number, because that's you. You can't argue that you didn't use your phone or that PIN number. So be aware of your surroundings. If you're at an ATM or somewhere, now the thieves are even holding their phone out like they're looking at it, but they're taking a picture of what's in your hand, being able to zoom in on the credit card number. That's even happening now. So be aware where your card is laying, or where you're holding it, or where you're entering it. And then again, don't let anyone see you entering your PIN number. Be alert and use alerts. A lot of banks and credit card companies have notifications or alerts that you can get on your phone. I have them set up on my credit card and my bank. Any transactions over a certain dollar amount, I get a text. Capital One, my credit card company, notifies me of any payment or large transaction or any irregular, suspicious activity. They can notify me and I can say yes or no on my phone right away. But you have to set that up. It's not automatic. And then public Wi-Fi's, y'all know about public Wi-Fi's. Don't use a bank app, or if you're at somewhere in a coffee shop where that has public Wi-Fi. Thieves can hop on that public Wi-Fi and look at everybody that's on the Wi-Fi right now. And if you're banking or doing something financial, they can monitor that, get passwords and links and steal from you that way. So if you're in a public Wi-Fi, don't do any online shopping or banking or anything like that. Just be aware it's not secure. A digital wallet. Anyone know what that is? It's high tech. Anybody? It's basically your phone being used as a wallet. There's applications now that you can have your cards, your keys, your passwords, all linked in your digital wallet. And you may have seen there's got to be a device. It's called a contactless or a near contact, where you put your phone near the credit card machine and it does the transaction. So it's contactless and it's encrypted, because the transaction that goes through the airwaves is not your card number. It's an encrypted communication between your digital wallet and that payment system. Some examples are Apple Pay, Google Pay. Anybody use Venmo? That's a digital wallet. So those types of things are more secure than giving your credit card or carrying your credit card around. So I know a lot of people are scared of them, but they're much more secure than having credit cards or debit cards in your possession. This is still happening. Anybody pay bills and put the flag up, go, hey, mailman, I got a check over here. Got a check in here. The thieves are looking for that. They're driving around neighborhoods and rural areas looking for mailboxes with the flag up. So don't mail checks through your mailbox, especially if it's not secure. Don't leave mail in the mailbox. If you go on vacation, don't let it stack up for a week, because there may be some personal information there. It could just be a bill that's due. They have that account number, then they can change it to their information. There's a lot of people stealing mail just to get some little snippets of your personal information. I just signed up for this USPS Informed Delivery about a month ago when I heard about it. It's free of service. All you got to do is go to Inform Me Delivery. This is in your handout, by the way. But it's basically you sign up with the post office to get an email of what mail is expected that day. So I get an email. This is my email. This is actually me and my wife's bill. This is one of our car bills. I get this email that says, coming to your mailbox soon. And I scroll down, I see the junk mail, I see the bills, the letters. So I know I got 4 or 5 or 10 things coming that day. If I go to my mailbox and it's not there, that bill's not there, I know someone took it. It's just a way to know. It's free. Like I said, you just sign it. It gives you an email of a scanned black and white copy of everything that's coming to your house today. I thought that was pretty cool. It's good. I get a lot of junk mail, so I scan through a lot of black and white pictures that I don't need. But when I see something like that, I'm like, oh, I got a bill coming. Now I know. Shred everything. I mentioned anything with your social security number, date of birth, anything personal information that you don't need to keep for IRS purposes, which again is only 7 years that you really need to keep anything for those guys. But shred everything. Financial statements, junk mail offers, credit card offers, because those have some personal information on you that thieves can use and try and get that special offer in their name. So just shred everything. When in doubt, just shred it. And use a cross-cutter shredder, because there are thieves that put the little things back together like detectives if it's just straight cut shredding. So cross-cut shredder saves lives. Beware of the phone scams. I mentioned this. This is another prevention tactic. Just know that there are people calling, and you may have all been getting these spam calls or these digital calls where you answer it and no one answers. That's a robot telling the thieves, hey, call this number. Someone answered at 4:37 p.m. Central Standard Time. So then someone eventually a person will call and try and get one of those imposter scams going. So just know that if your phone says spam or scam, don't answer it. Just spam risk, thank you. Because that's usually a robocaller trying to see if a human's going to answer at that number. Be aware of the common phone scams. Like I said, the IRS is not going to call you. The police department's not going to call you and tell them to send you gift cards. Just be aware of all the different scams that are out there. Check your credit score. I mentioned this earlier. Those 3 credit bureaus that I said to put your credit freeze on, they're supposed to give you 1 free credit report every year. They all try and sell you the credit protection where you sign up for like $6 a month and they'll monitor your credit. You don't need that. Just check it every year. Make sure every account that you see on that report is you and it's accurate. If there's something that's not you or an account that you don't know about, then that's a big red flag that you have some identity theft or fraud going on. So every year. And this annualcreditreport.com, this is kind of a one-stop shop. You can go to annualcreditreport.com and it'll allow you to choose which of those 3 bureaus you want to go to and kind of walk you through it all. Or you can just go to each of those 3 bureaus that I mentioned, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and get your free credit report. While you're doing your credit freeze, get your free credit report. Okay, if it does happen, this is our last section. If it does happen, how to report it. There's a nice little website, identitytheft.gov. This is through the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. That's basically a one-stop shop. If it happens to you, there's a big button that says get started here and a bunch of questions on tell me what happened. I had Social Security fraud or taxpayer fraud, and it gives you a list of what you need to do. Who do you need to call? Is it the police department? Is it the post office? Is it IRS, credit card, bank, health insurance? They give you instructions on what to do if this has happened to you. So it's step-by-step instructions. And then what happens next? Like this guy, you just sit and wait, unfortunately. There's going to be investigations. There's going to be replacement cards that will eventually have to be delivered to you. Your taxpayer benefits and those types of unemployment benefits may take a lot longer to work through the fraud report. But you want to keep notes, contacts, and conversations, detailed reports of everything, everybody that you talk to, everything that you've done. And again, on that website, it gives you a list of what to do. And then the last thing is these are just a few of them. There's others out there, but identity theft protection. My bank offers it, my credit card company offers it, all 3 credit bureaus offer it. These are some of the top 3 companies that offer you, for a fee, identity theft protection. And what they do is they're monitoring your social security number and date of birth and your personal information 24 hours a day. They're searching the dark web, the light web, all kinds of bureaus. They monitor it for you and let you know, hey, something's going on. So it's more really of a peace of mind. I actually pay for it through my bank. I don't use these. But I have someone monitoring my credit, and I get alerts when my credit score changes, any new accounts have been opened, or any requests have been made on my credit score. So you can research into those, but these are just a few proven ones that are legitimate companies. So that's the end of my routine. Thank you all for coming. Please fill out your comment cards, and we're going to get to dinner right away. So again, thanks for coming.